Breaking NBA news, Devin Booker may miss games 3 and 4 against the Pelicans, according to a report from ESPN. Now, that report states that MRI has revealed that Devin Booker's injury is mild, but it may keep him out. And in fact, it will likely keep him out of games 3 and 4. They are a much different team without Devin Booker on the court. With him, they're 56 and 12. Without, just 8 and 6, and the net rating plunges. And without him, in that second half last night, the Suns let New Orleans back into this series. The Pelicans wrestled away the lead and then ran away with it to even up the series at a game apiece before Game 3 on Friday in New Orleans. Game 4 is Sunday in New Orleans before returning to Phoenix for Game 5 on Tuesday night. Let's bring in Avery Johnson, former NBA champion and NBA Coach of the Year. Avery, how much different does this series become if Devin Booker can't play for 2-3 games?
What is different? The series changes, Chris, significantly in favor of the New Orleans Pelicans, because we saw in the second half, without Devin Booker, and if Chris Paul is not on top of his game, it's going to be an uphill climb. Because when you look at Brandon Ingram, the damage that he's doing, CJ McCollum, you got, Herb Jones playing outstanding defense. The bigs are running the floor. They got help off the bench with Alvarado. It's going to be a tough task for Phoenix. They should be able to still get a split in New Orleans without Devin Booker, but they're going to have to play much better than they played in the second half. And I like that they've ruled him out, because even if there's a miracle that can play in Game 4, I think with Monty Williams, and the coach, and James Jones, the GM, probably wants to get on the player's mind that Devin's not really walking through that door in Games 3 or 4. So you guys better go out and play at a high level and try to at least get a split in New Orleans.
Now, Booker's going to come back, one would think, with a mild sprain to that hamstring. And by the way, it's the other hamstring. He hurt the opposite hamstring before. This is a new injury to a different leg. Who are the Suns, though, if they don't have Devin Booker for a period of time? I mean, where would they fall in the pecking order in the West without their best player?
Well, let me answer something first, Chris. A hamstring, whether it's the left or the right one, but if it's the left one for a right-handed player, that's his push-off leg. That's the leg he uses for layups. That's his explosive leg. So this is a different situation. But without Devin Booker, the Suns are really a middle-of-the-pack Western Conference team. They're not the same team. Look at, he scores 31 points in the first half. They got a halftime lead. He's not available consistently in the second half. They basically get outscored by 20 points. And here's a guy that won a Olympic gold last year. He's played in the NBA Finals. His experience. He and Chris Paul, as a combined backcourt, these guys can, they can go for 50-plus points and obviously double-digit assists on any given night. He creates space for Paul to operate, DeAndre Ayton to post up. But now you're going to rely on Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson to be more of an offensive threat and try to get the same amount of points from two guys collectively that you might just get from Devin Booker single-handedly. So this is a situation, Monty Williams, he's now one of the best coaches, top coaches in the NBA, specifically in the playoffs. This is the reigning Western Conference champion. This is one of the few chances that CP3 is going to have, because time is running out. Not going to have that many chances to win a championship. So I know in their mind, they feel all of the pressure is not necessarily going to be on them in Game 3, but the Pelicans now, we'll see how they perform, especially being at home in front of their crowd, which is going to be hostile towards the Suns, and see if they can come away with a victory and protect their home court.
This is an era of resting stars in the regular season so that they're ready to go in the postseason. Booker didn't rest very much, only missed 12 games in the regular season. And this is a guy who played a lot of basketball over the last year and a half. I mean, you go back to the finals last year. Suns didn't win it, but were in it against the Milwaukee Bucks. He then went on, played the Olympics, very short rest before the season resumed again. How much of a factor do you think that could be?
I don't think it's as much of a factor because you remember to start training camp, he was out for a lot of training camp and even early to start the season. So I don't think this was more about fatigue or anything. This is a freak injury. I've had hamstring injuries before. They're very temperamental. Sometimes when you think they're back and you're feeling good, you need more time. Just unfortunately for the Suns, they don't have a lot of time. Time can run out pretty quickly if Booker doesn't get this healed. Sometimes it's even better to have a sprained ankle rather than to have a mild or a strained hamstring because it's two totally different injuries. So I don't think it's because he was overworked in any way. I just think it's one of those freak situations that happened on the other hamstring, and we'll see if they can get him back on the court in time, especially for Game 5.
The Suns confirming it is a mild right hamstring strain. No timetable for Devin Booker's return. Updates will be provided as appropriate, according to the statement put out by the Phoenix Suns, who are now tied 1-1 in a first-round series with the New Orleans Pelicans, a surprise team in the playoffs this season without Zion Williamson the entire season. The Suns were the NBA favorites to win the title going into this postseason. Best record in the NBA regular season and the #1 overall seed, home court advantage throughout the postseason. This isn't the end of the road for Devin Booker here and the Suns, but what does this do to how you think the West will unfold?
Well, if Devin Booker is not available and if he's not, 100%, then you look at what the Golden State Warriors have done in these first two games against Denver. Man, they look good on both ends of the floor. And I know this is not a great matchup for the Nuggets, especially with Jokic on defense because they're involving him so much on the defensive end. But Jordan Poole, oh my goodness, it's not quite the Kevin Durant effect, but man, he's playing extremely well. He's had, second most points than Wilt Chamberlain, behind Wilt Chamberlain, ahead of Steph Curry in terms of his career playoffs in his first two games. So it's a joy to watch Andre Iguodala being back. He's a very crafty player, but when you got Steph Curry coming off the bench and Klay Thompson shooting the ball the way he's playing, Draymond Green with his stout defense and that point forward and passing ability, when they go to that smaller lineup, which they played about 11 minutes in these first two games, and they're plus a million in terms of the plus minus. Wow, that's hard to guard. And if Devin Booker's not healthy, then that would catapult the Warriors ahead of them and being the favorites to come out of the West.
And we've seen the Warriors' odds creep up and up and up closer to catching the Phoenix Suns. You wonder if this news today is going to change all that, with Devin Booker likely out for games 3 and 4 in New Orleans, with that series tied at a game apiece. Avery Johnson with us here on CBS Sports HQ. The Suns have been the best team in the NBA with Devin Booker this season, 56-12, but without him, 8-6. That included the last quarter and a half or so of Game 2, when in a real tight game, the Pelicans took over and tied the series at a game apiece. That Game 5, which will be back in Houston, maybe targeting Devin Booker's return, that will be exactly 1 week after the injury, the mild sprain to his hamstring.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.